I didn't mean to look at her that long. But some people have a way of pulling time toward them, of making you forget where your hands are, what you were supposed to say, why you even walked into the room. She was standing by the window that night, light falling over her shoulders like she'd borrowed it. The kind of woman who doesn't need to speak to be noticed, it just happens. I remember the quiet hum of the radiator, the rain against the glass, the faint smell of coffee that had gone cold. I remember the shape of her stillness. Her name was Elena. I said it once, softly, just to see if it fit in my mouth. It did. When she turned, she didn't smile. She just looked, the sort of look that feels like it knows where you've been, and what you're hiding. "You're early," she said. I told her the bus came sooner than expected. That wasn't true. I'd taken the earlier one on purpose. The silence after that was strange, not empty, just listening. Her bracelets made a quiet sound when she reached for her cup, the metal clinking against porcelain. I couldn't stop watching the way her fingers moved, steady, deliberate, but with that small tremor people try to hide when they've been holding something too tightly for too long. "You're staring," she said finally, not looking up. I wasn't, I lied. Her mouth curved, not into a smile, but something like it, a trace of amusement, maybe pity. "You're not very good at pretending." Neither was she. There was something in the way she stood, as if she'd built walls so high she forgot how to leave them. Every time I spoke, I saw the faintest shift in her posture, like she wanted to lean in but wouldn't let herself. She asked about my work. I mumbled something about night shifts and unfinished drawings. She nodded, polite, distant, but her eyes lingered. And when she set her cup down, her hand brushed mine. Not by accident. Not entirely on purpose, either. It was nothing, a touch that lasted less than a second. But it was warm. Too warm. I tried to say something casual, something light, but the words didn't come. The room felt smaller. The air heavier. I could hear her breathing, slow, controlled, but uneven at the edges. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said quietly. "Like what?" "Like you don't know better." Her voice carried something, a softness wrapped around warning. She wasn't flirting. She was protecting herself, maybe protecting me. Still, she didn't move away. Outside, the rain hit harder, sharp against the glass. It sounded like a heartbeat trying to remind us that time was still moving, that we hadn't stepped outside of it completely. She reached for the window latch, her wrist brushing my sleeve again, that same static rush, that same uninvited ache. "Elena," I started. "Don't," she said. Just that. One word, and everything inside it, the weight of something that shouldn't happen but already had, somewhere between her silence and my hesitation. The light flickered once, briefly dimming the room, then came back. We both looked toward the door at the same time, footsteps on the hallway floor, moving closer. Her eyes met mine again, quick, startled, and for the first time, I saw fear there. Not of me, but of what had almost been said. She took a breath, straightened her shoulders, and whispered, "Forget that night." But the way her voice caught on night, the way her gaze lingered even as she turned away, told me what both of us already knew. Some nights never let you forget. The next time I saw her, she was rearranging the books in the studio, sleeves rolled up, hair pinned back carelessly, a loose strand tracing her jaw each time she turned. I'd told myself I wouldn't come back, that the message she left, "Forget that night," was clear enough. But I did. I came back anyway. She looked up when I entered, and something flickered across her face, surprise, maybe annoyance, or something softer she didn't want to name. "You're persistent," she said, sliding another book onto the shelf. Maybe I just forgot how to listen. The line was stupid, but it made her laugh, the kind that escapes before it's permitted. Her eyes softened for a moment before she looked away. There was a long pause, filled only by the sound of her bracelets again, that quiet, rhythmic sound I'd come to associate with her. I watched her hands, the way she avoided my gaze, the careful distance she kept as if the air between us had rules. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked, not sure what I meant until it was out. She stopped. Regret what? Being careful all the time. Her lips parted, a breath, no words. She turned away, reached for a book she didn't really need, and said, "You're too young to understand why people start being careful." There it was, too young. The invisible wall. "I'm old enough to notice when someone's lonely," I said quietly. The words hung there. Too bold. Too true. She didn't respond at first. Just stood there, still as if movement might make the truth louder. When she finally spoke, her voice was thinner. "My marriage ended 3 years ago," she said, her back still to me. "He left, and I didn't stop him. I thought if I stayed quiet, I'd stay intact. I was wrong." She turned then, eyes glimmering with something that wasn't sadness exactly, but the exhaustion that comes after it. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, as if silence was the only language she'd accept. Her hand brushed against mine when she passed a stack of papers over. It wasn't deliberate, but she didn't pull away fast enough. The paper trembled between us, stupid, ordinary paper, and yet it felt like we were both holding something fragile. "People will talk," she murmured, almost to herself. "Let them," I said, before I could stop myself. She gave a small, disbelieving smile, the kind that hurts to see because it means she wants to believe you, but can't. Her perfume was faint, something warm with edges of citrus. I caught it when she leaned closer to set the papers down. Her breath brushed my cheek when she spoke again. "You don't know what you're asking for." "Maybe I do." Her eyes met mine then, finally, steady, tired, alive. The world outside the window was fading into evening, light slanting gold and soft across her skin. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then, with a quiet exhale, she reached out, her fingers grazed my wrist, just barely, and whispered, "Don't make me remember what it feels like to be wanted." I didn't answer. I couldn't. But I didn't step back either. And in the quiet that followed, between her pulse and mine, something unspoken grew, small, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. It happened a week later, after hours. The studio was nearly dark, the city outside already folded into its own tired hum. I'd come to return a book I hadn't read, an excuse even I didn't believe. She was still there, working under the soft desk lamp, her glasses slipping down her nose. She looked up when the door creaked open. "You again," she said, but her voice didn't sound annoyed. "Me again." She hesitated, then smiled, faintly, the kind that hides more than it shows. "You really shouldn't be here this late. I could say the same to you." Her eyes lingered on me a second longer than they should have. "I live close by," she said, turning back to her notes. "You don't." She was right. I didn't. But leaving wasn't something I wanted to do anymore. I walked closer, slow, careful. The smell of paper and faint lavender filled the air. I could hear the scratch of her pen, the sound of her breath. She didn't look up, but I could feel her noticing me anyway. Elena. The way her name sounded in the dark, it made her stop writing. She looked at me then, eyes soft and uncertain. "You shouldn't," she said quietly. Someone could. The buzz of her phone cut through the room. We both froze. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize. She grabbed it fast, turning it face down, the sound of her bracelets quick and nervous. "I'm sorry," she said, voice shaking a little. "You need to go." I didn't move. "Who was that?" "It doesn't matter." "It does if it makes you look like that." She stood, pushing the chair back with a soft scrape. "You're crossing lines you don't understand." "I understand enough." Her eyes flashed, anger, maybe fear. "No, you don't. You think this is just, what? A story? You're young. People will talk. They'll think, I don't care what they think. You will." The silence after that was heavier than before. Only the hum of the lamp, the city outside, her breathing, uneven now. I took a step closer. She didn't move. Another step, and we were close enough that I could see the tiny freckle near her collarbone, the one hidden by her blouse before. My hand lifted without thought, I stopped just short of touching her. Her voice came out barely a whisper. Don't. But she didn't step back. The air between us thinned until it felt like something fragile might break. Her lips parted, a breath, not words. I could see every flicker of conflict on her face, the guilt, the want, the quiet pleading that said not yet, not now. Then, the door clicked. We both turned, startled. A friend of hers, a colleague, stepped halfway in, saying her name before stopping dead. "Oh," the woman said, eyes darting between us. "Didn't realize you had company." Elena's face changed, all warmth gone, replaced by something practiced, polite. "Just helping with some work," she said, too quickly. I stepped back, heart hammering, trying to breathe normally. Her friend nodded, muttered something, left. The door closed again, but the space it left behind felt colder. Elena's shoulders trembled, just once, before she spoke. "You need to go," she whispered again. I should have. But instead, I reached out, touched her wrist lightly, a fleeting, desperate touch, and said, "I can't keep pretending there's nothing here." She didn't pull away this time. Her eyes found mine, and the silence between us was the closest thing to confession either of us could bear. Rain again. It always seemed to find us. The next evening, I told myself I wouldn't go, that the moment had passed, that she'd already drawn the line clear enough for both of us. But when the rain started, steady and relentless, I found myself outside the studio anyway, water running down my collar, heart doing its usual, reckless thing. Through the window, I could see her locking up, pulling her coat tight around her. I almost turned away, but then she saw me. Her hand paused on the light switch. A second too long. Then, with a small, tired sigh, she opened the door. "You're soaked," she said. "I know." She didn't step aside immediately. Just stood there, eyes searching mine for something that might excuse this, something neither of us could name. Finally, she let me in. The warmth hit hard, the faint smell of tea, wet wool, and her perfume. "Elena," I started, but she cut in. "You shouldn't be here. You said that last time. And you didn't listen then either." Her voice was calm, but her hands betrayed her, twisting the edge of her sleeve, restless. I stepped closer. "Tell me you don't think about it," I said softly. "And I'll walk out right now." Her breath caught, that small, sharp intake that said she'd been holding something in too long. "Don't do this," she whispered. But she didn't tell me to leave. The rain outside was louder now, pressing against the windows. Every sound in the room seemed amplified, her heartbeat, mine, the way she swallowed before speaking again. "I can't," she started, voice trembling. "I can't want this. It's wrong. I'm old enough to know better." "Then why are you shaking?" That broke something. Her eyes flickered, anger, fear, longing, all tangled into one. "Because you make me forget how careful I'm supposed to be," she said. I took another step, close enough to feel the warmth coming off her. My hand lifted, slow, unsure, and brushed the wet strand of hair from her cheek. She closed her eyes. Just for a moment, but it was enough. When she opened them, there was no hiding left. "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" she asked. "Probably ruining everything," I said. She almost laughed. "At least you're honest." "I don't want honest," I said quietly. "I want you." The words hung there, reckless, heavy, real. She exhaled, her lips parting like she might answer, but nothing came out. Instead, she leaned forward, not much, just enough for the air between us to shift. I could feel the warmth of her breath, her hand trembling against my chest. My pulse stuttered under her palm. "Elena," her name came out rough, almost prayer-like. Then she whispered, so close I could feel the words on my skin, If you touch me, I won't stop you. The air vanished between us. And then, a sharp knock on the door. Both of us froze. Her hand still against me. My breath caught halfway between need and disbelief. She stepped back first, eyes wide, color rising in her cheeks. "Don't," she said again, barely audible. The knock came again, louder this time. She looked at me, torn between fear and something that looked a lot like surrender. "Please," she whispered. "Just, wait." 3 days passed before I saw her again. 3 days of half-written messages and deleted drafts, of walking past the studio door like it wasn't the only thing that could pull me back. When I finally went in, she was already there, same desk, same faint perfume, only this time she didn't look up. "I thought you'd stopped coming," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking slightly as she stacked papers that didn't need stacking. "I tried." She gave a short, humorless laugh. "Trying isn't the same as leaving." There was distance in her tone, something rehearsed. But the air between us hadn't changed, still heavy, still full of the thing we kept pretending didn't exist. "I need to tell you something," I said. Her shoulders tensed. "Please don't. It's not what you think." She turned then, eyes sharp but tired. "It's always what I think." I took a breath. That night, when someone knocked on the door. It wasn't just a friend, was it? Her gaze faltered. "No, then who?" "My ex-husband," she said finally, voice small. "He still has things here. He comes by sometimes." It felt like the floor tilted. "You didn't tell me." "I didn't think I needed to." She crossed her arms, not defensively, but as if she were holding herself together. "It's not what you're imagining." But it was exactly what I'd imagined, him standing in that same doorway, once her everything, still orbiting her life like he had a claim. "Does he know about us?" "There is no us," she said quickly. The way she said it, sharp, final, it hit harder than I expected. I nodded, but the silence afterward betrayed us both. Her breathing hitched, her fingers trembled around the papers she still held. She set them down before they tore. "I shouldn't have let it get this far," she whispered. "You deserve someone who isn't haunted." Her eyes flickered up, surprised. "Yes." "I don't care," I said. "You think I don't know what this is?" "I do." And I stopped when I saw her move, one step toward me, too close, too deliberate. "Stop saying things you can't take back," she said, but her voice had no conviction. "I already did." Her breath caught again. She turned away, pressing her hand to the edge of the table like she needed something solid to hold on to. The air between us shifted, all tension, no safety now. The kind of silence that hums. "Does he still love you?" I asked. She flinched. "I don't know." "And you?" Her hand lowered slowly. "I don't know that either." That honesty, raw, trembling, did more than any confession could. It wasn't closure, it was a door swinging open. When she finally faced me again, her expression was unreadable. But her eyes, they gave her away. "Whatever this is," she said softly, stepping closer, "it won't survive daylight." "Then don't let the sun in," I whispered. She didn't answer, but when she brushed past me, close enough for her shoulder to graze my chest, she stopped, just for a second. Neither of us moved. Her voice was barely a breath. "Tomorrow. After hours." Then she was gone, leaving me in the echo of rain starting up again outside. A promise. Or a warning. I couldn't tell which. The studio was nearly dark when I arrived. Just the soft glow of one lamp left on, painting the room in amber. Outside, the rain was gone, only the smell of it lingered, sharp and clean. She was there, waiting. Elena didn't turn when I walked in, she just said, "You came." I said I would. Her voice was quiet, but there was no surprise in it, just that same mix of resignation and something that looked too much like hope. I shouldn't have asked you, she murmured. I thought. I don't even know what I thought. You thought I'd say no. Finally, she turned. The light caught the side of her face, tired, beautiful, unguarded. She was still wearing the same gray sweater from earlier, sleeves pushed to her elbows, faint ink smudge on her wrist. Ordinary details, and yet they undid me. You make it sound easy, she said. It isn't. She looked at me for a long time, the kind of look that holds years inside it. Then, slowly, she crossed the room. Every step seemed to test the air between us. By the time she stopped, she was close enough that I could feel the warmth of her skin through the few inches of space left. If we do this, she said, barely above a whisper, you'll regret it. Probably. And if we don't? That too. A laugh escaped her, small, broken, real. You shouldn't sound this calm about ruining things. I'm not calm, I said, and it was true. My hands were shaking where they hung uselessly at my sides. She reached up, almost unconsciously, brushing her fingers against my sleeve. The contact was nothing, a whisper of touch, but it felt like standing on a ledge. Her breath trembled. You don't understand what it means for me. I do, I said. That's why I'm still here. Something in her broke then, not loudly, not visibly, just the quiet collapse of resistance. Her hand came up to my face, hesitant at first, then certain. Her thumb traced the corner of my mouth like she was memorizing it. For a long moment, we didn't speak. The world shrank to the sound of our breathing, hers slow, mine uneven. Elena, I whispered. Her eyes closed, like the sound of her name hurt. You shouldn't say it like that. Like what? Like you mean it. I smiled, small, tired. I do. Her forehead rested against mine. Neither of us moved, afraid of what would happen if we did. The air felt charged, waiting for something irreversible. Then she pulled back, just enough to look at me. If this ruins you, she said softly, I'll never forgive myself. Then don't let it ruin us. A silence followed, long, trembling. Then, finally, she nodded, almost imperceptibly. Her hand slid down, finding mine. Fingers laced, hesitant, then sure. No kiss. No words. Just that, the quiet, deliberate act of not walking away. And in that stillness, I knew, we hadn't chosen safety. We'd chosen each other. Morning light found its way through the curtains, pale, quiet, the kind of light that doesn't demand anything. The city outside was still half asleep. I sat by the window, holding a mug that had gone cold long ago. She was there, sitting across from me, hair still damp from the shower, wearing one of those calm expressions that hides the storm that came before. Neither of us spoke for a while. We didn't need to. The silence wasn't awkward anymore, it was the kind that settles after a decision's been made. When she finally looked up, her eyes met mine, not with uncertainty this time, but with a kind of fragile peace. I thought I'd wake up and regret it, she said softly. And? Her lips curved, faintly. I don't. Something inside me eased, something that had been coiled tight for weeks. I didn't say anything. I just reached out, fingers brushing hers on the table. She didn't pull away. You know this isn't simple, she continued. People will talk. They always do. I don't care anymore. You should. Maybe, I said. But right now, I'd rather just be here. Her hand turned, palm meeting mine. The gesture was small, almost hesitant, but her thumb traced lazy circles against my skin, and that was answer enough. She exhaled, a quiet sound that might have been relief. You remind me of what it felt like to be alive again, she said. Not safe, not careful. Just, alive. I smiled. And you remind me that it's okay to take my time, to not rush through everything. Her eyes softened, that same gentle look from the first night, when everything started with silence and rain. She stood, came closer, and for a second I thought she might step away again. She didn't. She stopped in front of me, her hand finding the side of my face. Her touch was steady now, no tremor, no hesitation. "You still make me nervous," she whispered. "Good," I said. "So do you." She laughed quietly, the kind of laugh that only comes when the weight has finally lifted. Then she leaned in, not rushed, not desperate, just a quiet meeting halfway. A kiss that felt more like a promise than a beginning. When we pulled apart, the morning light had grown warmer. Outside, someone was playing a radio, faint music threading through the open window. She rested her head against my shoulder, her hands still in mine. "What now?" I asked. "Now," she said, "we stop pretending the world gets to decide for us." I nodded, holding her hand tighter, and for the first time, there was no fear left in the room. Only the slow rhythm of breathing, hers, mine, and the sound of life beginning again outside. Some nights never let you forget. But some mornings make it worth remembering.